I told Murthy that I want to step down because I felt that other people should sit in the chair. And at that point of time, I was 46. And I spent 11 good years. I've achieved a lot. I was the best CFO in India by far from anybody else. I was awarded the first best CFO award in India. Set standards in financial reporting, in disclosure, investor protection, and many things else in foreign exchange matters, in ensuring that we comply with overseas regulations, had done the NASDAQ listing. It's just that I wanted to shift, and I think in every organization you should not be there in a position more than 7 to 10 years, because you stifle other people's ambitions who want to do well. And if you're a good leader, you would have got many people who are very, very good who want to occupy your position. So I think it's just that I wanted to go out and I want to do something very different. When I was discussing with Murthy and I told him I want to leave, he said, "Why do you want to leave? Why don't you do something else?" Then I asked, "What? Why don't you handle HR?" And I said, "All right. I mean, if you're a good manager, you should be able to handle any challenge. And for INFOSYS, the most important thing is HR because it's all about people. It's a people's company." So I said, "All right, I'll be a board member for HR." I had a good team. I built a good team. We did many, many innovative things. In the 5 years, we hired 160,000 people. We trained 225,000 people, built the world's largest corporate university, and restructured the entire organizational structure. And we did many, many things. And I think, it was a very worthwhile time. Well, the day I took over as HR director, I had a meeting with HR people, and they came and told me, they asked me, "How can we trust you?" Because they said, "So far you've been CFO, you've been acting tough." I had to remind them that I created the stock option plan by which a lot of them became wealthy. I created the loan scheme by which they could buy houses and they could buy cars. I made sure that all their salaries were paid on time and they got increases. I had to remind them a lot because they come with very absurd demands and they don't know how business runs. And I had to moderate the demands. Then I told them that, look, till yesterday, if any person came into my room, I looked at the person as the net present value of a future stream of revenues because I'm a finance person. I said, now if they come to my room, I look at them as a person with empathy, with expectations, and who wants certain things to be done, and they'll react accordingly. I said a good manager will react based upon the situation and what the job is. And I think we did a very good job in HR too. Well, let me give you some history of the ESOPs. It was in 1994 that when I joined, one of the things we discussed with Murthy and Nandan was to have an ESOP scheme. They asked me to design it, and I think they too had an idea they should do it. I mean, it has been there all along because Murthy had given shares to employees earlier. So it's not that I came up with the idea. I wanted it done, but they had the idea much earlier. Then I designed a scheme, looking at the scheme of Microsoft and other companies globally, under which the government of India passed 2 legislations in Parliament and could not tax the scheme. And the matter went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held that the structure was done in such a manner that it could not be taxed. So for paying 100 rupees when the share price was 1,000 rupees and holding it for a particular period of time and having bonus issues of 2 or 3 times, people could get an enormous amount of money, and they didn't have to pay capital gains tax. And I think it's a wonderful scheme because it created a tremendous amount of wealth. So I think it is possibly the best design scheme that India has seen. I hope some people recognize that. Though I'm very disappointed that despite structuring it well, fighting the case in the court, going all of the Supreme Court, going through the agony of going through all dispute resolutions, not many of the employees came and even said thank you for designing the scheme on which they save tax. And many of the employees who made enormous amount of money thought that is all due to them. It was due to the fact that the company did well and everybody else contributed, and they all thought they became superstars. And they all retired early, didn't pay back their debt to the company by staying on and building the company like many of us did. Now, it became the benchmark for corporate India. But I think the important thing about the INFOSYS stock option scheme was it democratized wealth in this country. It made people believe in the future of corporations. It made people believe that they have a right to share in the prosperity of every corporation. It moved away from the Lala, from the big Lala and owner-driven culture that India had, where many people thought that companies listed belonged to them because they had a majority share and the rest of the people are only naukars. Because I've seen many of this traditional management use the word naukar, servant, to their employees and managers. And I feel very offended when I was called a naukar in a particular company where I worked. And it's nothing wrong with being a naukar, but it is, you feel offended because people belittle you, and despite you managing the company and creating everything, just because they own it and put some money, they think that you are a naukar and they are the malik. The typical malik naukar thing in India, which is very bad. So I think INFOSYS democratized wealth, demonstrated that wealth sharing is very important, and that wealth allowed many people to become entrepreneurs. What is the INFOSYS spirit? INFOSYS spirit was about a group of people who came together as a team effort with mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive skills. So they had skills which others lacked and they worked together. 2, they had one strong leader, Murthy, who decided when everybody had different opinions. And they all rallied to the flag. And 3rd, they were all devoted to the corporation. The corporation was their life. All for us, INFOSYS was their life. For 17 I was there morning, evening, on the way when sleeping, you always thought about INFOSYS. Ignored your family, ignored your parents, ignored the relations, all about INFOSYS and the company and how to do well. So, you devote your life to a particular corporation. You give sufficient amount of time. The founders spent 25, 30 years. I spent 17 years. So you have to give sufficient amount of time and go through the tribulations. You put the company interest before your interest, in the sense that you are very frugal. You don't give yourself great salaries, you don't go to luxurious hotels and travel business class or first class, you stay in crappy places, you count every penny, and you just make sure you accumulate capital. So the company grows because of the sacrifices that you make. And next, you believe in the spirit of sharing with all other employees and treating them like valued colleagues. And you believe in a culture which is open, transparent, and collegial, where everybody has a right to an opinion, and the best idea always wins, not the best title. Because none of you know the situation in 1991 when India almost went broke. None of you are all too young, you don't know what it was. It was a bad situation, there were no jobs. When I graduated from college in 1979 and I finished my CA in 82, there were no jobs. I used to earn 500 rupees a month. I didn't have money for my petrol for my vehicle. I used to take money from my mother, a grown-up person taking money. It was not a good situation. Akshay Patra is an extraordinary program. It came through just like INFOSYS because the group of people came through, the situation was right and did everything right. Okay? So nobody has been able to duplicate that. It feeds 1.5 million children every single day, a hot, cooked, nutritious meal all around India in about 11,000 schools in 11 states. Okay? And it spends about 275 crores a year, out of which 60-65% is given by the government and the balance they raise themselves. They get contribution from many people. So I think it's an extraordinary scheme and it's done very well. This month I think we have reached 2 billion meals. 2 billion meals. It's not a small sum. And its food processes, its cooking, its logistics, its management is extraordinary. They won prizes beating Indian corporates hand down in food safety and many quality and control and many other areas. And a standing example of what the best of business can do with the best of intentions. And it worked because ISKCON Bangalore was there to work with him, and I think they're an extraordinary set of people. So all these people came together and it has worked very well. Akshay Patra's impact has been to demonstrate public-private partnerships can work in a particular context, to demonstrate why it is important for all of us as citizens to work with the government and to address the challenges society has. And it has worked in the way that you're tackling one of the most fundamental issues of society, that of hunger. Hunger kills more people worldwide than any disease, any war, any government. And hunger, disempowers an individual, because without food, you are in a terrible state. And children who are hungry will never realize their physical and mental potential. And it's a crime against humanity if society does not feed its own children. Because children are very, children need nurturing. Okay? Children are very fragile. Okay? Children are, in a situation where they cannot fend for themselves. So we have to take care of children, not only our children, but every child that is born in society. No child should grow up deprived, no child should grow up hungry, and no child should grow up uneducated or not realize their dream because of want of money. And it's the responsibility of every single person in this country, big or small, to make sure that our children, everybody's child, gets a good leg up till they reach majority, get a good education, and after that they are on their own. It's society's obligation. So we are fulfilling a very, very basic need. I'm a very rational person. Okay, I'm a very rational person. I believe in logic. But we're all human beings, we're all emotional. And when you are in distress and you have no hope, you look at something divine to help because there's no hope. And most times you fail because there's nothing divine. But sometimes some chance occurrences happens and you feel good. I am what I am because of what my parents did. My parents came from very poor circumstances. They worked very hard. They got an education and they struggled and they sacrificed for me. And I got a state subsidized education. So I did very well. I got a rank holder in my university. I was a rank holder in CA and everything else. And in my career, I succeeded because I was very self-motivated. I worked extremely hard. So now I feel that I am what I am because of what many things did for me. I am what I am in a country because the founding fathers of this republic, sacrificed everything to fight against colonial exploitation and give us freedom. So many people have built society and many benefit from that. So it is we have to give it back. And we have to give a much better country than the country we got from our parents to our children. We can't give a worse country, so we have to work harder because the country is bigger, it's much more complex. So this love for a country, this dream of a great society, the dream of everybody being well, that's what drives me. So I do try to do whatever I can. Sometimes I fail, sometimes I succeed, but I will not be faulted for lack of effort. I've been a bad father. I've been a bad husband. Maybe a bad son. When my father was in hospital in January of 1994 and he died on April end 1994, I didn't visit him many times. I was working very hard at INFOSYS and doing many things. I visited him a few times. I didn't spend enough time with him. I don't know. It's just that I was consumed by work. And suddenly he died. So I miss him. I got very pleasant memories. And later I learned that my mother has sold all her jewelry, everything she had, all her savings to pay for my father's medical care. She never told me, and I never offered to give money. So I suffered that guilt. I have not been a good son. Yes, I've done very well. I've worked very hard. I'm very honest. I'm very straightforward. So I guess every father will be proud of having a son like me. But have I been a good son in taking care of my father? No. Have I been a good son in taking care of my mother? No. I do take care of her, meet her once in a while, but I don't spend enough time with her. I'm consumed by work. Have I been a good husband spending time with my wife, talking to her? No. Have I been a good father bringing up my children? No. I spent time with them, enough time, but I never saw them growing up. I was always at work. So, I don't know. I remember when Nandan became the CEO, he came and told me, Mohan, will you work with me? I said, what? Of course I'm going to work with you. Why are you asking? No. You're always so very combative and so very competitive and you want to win all the time. Then he told me, you must let others win too a few times. Not if you want to work together. You should not win all the time. So I had this abiding passion to win every argument, to win every time. It's not that I wanted to let down anybody else. It's an open system. You have the best idea, you win. That's all. If I have the best idea all the time, I will win. And if somebody has a better idea, I'll counter that with another idea. So it's just that the way it was. But I learned over a period of time that when you live in society, we live with people, it's good, you must make others win too. You must be a little bit more compassionate. Don't make others feel bad because, we are emotional people. We're not, even though we say we are logical, we are emotional people. And emotion rules everybody. And emotion is extremely important component of how you do things. Well, first of all, I don't believe in a mandatory CSR because people pay the taxes, government work, I think is sufficient. Because corporations are the rule are for the creation of wealth for the investors. That's the primary role. And in the creation of the wealth, they must not harm society. So they must do good for society. They must pay the taxes, be good citizens, obey the law, etc. They must not be rapacious. They must not use natural resources to their own benefit. So I don't believe in that concept that it should be mandatory CSR. But I think we lost the debate. Government has insisted. So now there's a mandatory CSR. I would first use that money to improve the lives of people in the corporation who are not so fortunate in the sense they're not very highly paid. Because you have a certain class of people who do skills which do not get a good salary. So maybe have a scholarship scheme and a health scheme for them if you don't have it in the corporation. With the health insurance, most companies have health insurance. Maybe you have education loan or scholarship scheme for the children. Second, impact people in the areas where you are set up. For example, you set up in a particular place for 2-3 kilometers, 5 kilometers. What do you do to impact the lives of people there and do things much better? So I would do that. Companies are built by a culture of transparency, a culture of openness, a culture where people can question, a culture where people feel wanted, a culture where there is fairness and there are values. So the culture is very important. It's like our family culture, right? In India, we have a family culture. That culture builds us. And the culture makes us sensitive to other people. The culture makes us live together. The culture makes us adjust to each other, give space to each other, right? We are not an individualistic society. We are a group society. We are a family society. So I think it's a culture that makes all the difference, and the culture requires a good leader. Because without a good leader, it can't be a culture led by a committee. It requires a good leader who lives the culture. It's like Gandhiji. Gandhiji lived the freedom movement. People saw in him encapsulated the values of the freedom movement. The values of a movement where people from different streams came together to fight for their own freedom and to promise to themselves the creation of a country based upon the freedom of the individual and the right of the individual to dream and achieve whatever he or she wants. A freedom to do many things and to be treated equally and to be assured the safety of life and property to the state. So they all fought for it, for the rule of law, right? But Gandhiji encapsulated, he became the medium, he became the face. So for a culture to sustain itself and to last, you need a face. And it's very difficult to feed the face, because in INFOSYS we said leadership by example. And leadership by example implies that you live what you speak. And it's a very tough thing. Self-sacrifice is very tough. So whenever we travel, if our wives or family came, we paid for it. We never used company resources for personal reasons. So we were very, very tough about it. So I think a lot of things that we did. But it all came because there was a leader, he lived the talk, he communicated, he spoke. So leadership is very important. To win, to be number one, to be the most competitive, to beat the hell out of everybody, to be very competitive, not combative, very competitive, to be the best in the world. That desire to be the best in the world, to gain the respect of consumers, your clients, your society at large, your employees, and to be the best company in the world, that's what drives you. You've got to be number one. And all you can end to say is, at the end of the day, if you have done more good to society than bad, and you've not done bad things which hurt people, then I think you'll lead a good life.